Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hi everyone, my name is Coury Carlson, and I'm one half of the creative team behind the YouTube channel My Life in Gaming. If you're not familiar with the show, we mainly are known for deep dives into classic video game hardware and getting them to look good on modern televisions. And today, I'm here to talk about Phantasy Star III: Generations of Doom, the much maligned third entry in Sega's flagship RPG series that was released on the Japanese Sega Mega Drive during the spring of 1990 and in 1991 on the Sega Genesis in the US. So I should preface this whole thing with my history with the Phantasy Star series up to this point. Specifically, how the original Phantasy Star game on the Sega Master System was a pivotal video game in my life. When I dumped all my birthday cash on a copy of KB Toys in December of 1988, I had no idea what to expect outside of, this game looks like it has amazing graphics. Phantasy Star was the brainchild of Sega R&D 2, which consisted of some of the all-time Sega greats, such as the late Reiko Kodama and Yuji Naka. Phantasy Star was a sprawling adventure that gave a party of 4 adventurers the task of saving the 3 unique planets of the solar system called Algol from a tyrannical king named Lassic. It was a tour de force of the capabilities of Sega's 8-bit console hardware, which resulted in a number of truly impressive landscapes, smooth animation, and of course, thanks to Naka's programming wizardry, iconic 3D dungeons. When I got home with it on my birthday in 1988, I bounced off of it hard. I'd never played a Japanese RPG before, so I couldn't wrap my 11-year-old brain around what was going on. But thanks in part to my older brother's experience with Dungeons & Dragons, he was able to explain a lot of the specific terminology to me, such as experience points and leveling up. I eventually got into a groove and spent the next 6 months totally enraptured. While the overarching narrative is pretty average by today's standards, the locales you visit across the 3 planets are still just as fantastic as they were over 40 years ago. It works so well in part due to its pitch-perfect mix of high fantasy and science fiction. One moment you're taking a space shuttle to a different planet, and the next you're riding a flying cat with angel wings battling a dragon on your way to a floating castle in the sky. To those that played it at the time of release, Phantasy Star left an indelible mark on them, myself included. It changed my perception of what video games could be and the feelings that they can inspire. In my mind, it was an eternity between finishing Phantasy Star and the release of the sequel, Phantasy Star II. In retrospect, it was less than a year, but you know how time moves so much slower when you're young, especially when it comes to something you're looking forward to so much. The jump to the new 16-bit hardware assured me that this was going to be much better than the original game. Phantasy Star II was led by a number of the original team members who were faced with an incredibly short development time, but thanks to their experience with the first game, they were able to use the more powerful hardware to evolve the look, sound, and feel of the universe. Taking place 1,000 years after the original game, the 3 planets of the Algol star system had evolved into an ideal utopia with the help of a mysterious supercomputer called Mother Brain. Where have I heard that name before? This storyline gave the development team the opportunity to lean more heavily into its established sci-fi aspects, which helped define the iconic look which some of the series spin-offs carry even to this day. This high technology would ultimately be society's undoing, resulting in the destruction of one of the 3 planets and plunging the other 2 planets into a steep decline. Due to the sometimes obtuse nature of progression, Sega saw fit to include a fully featured hint book in the packaging with the US game. In theory, this sounds amazing, but alas, it helped to ruin my overall experience with the game, and taught me a hard lesson about spoilers and FAQs in a pre-internet age. As a result, I had a less positive experience with the second game, although I still enjoyed it greatly, but what can I say? Still, next time, I'd know better. Riding high on the success of Phantasy Star II in both the East and West, Sega thought it was a better choice to fast-track the third game in the series to take advantage. While the second game was created in just 6 months, much of the core team, such as Yuji Naka, had been transferred to Sonic Team, who were preoccupied with development of an important little game called Sonic the Hedgehog. Instead of waiting for them to finish, the powers that be elected to bring in a less experienced team, led by Hirondo Saiki, better known as S2, who served as assistant director on Part 2. This team, hot off the release of the home port of the arcade hit Golden Axe, had little to no experience with RPGs. Of course, myself and plenty of others had no idea that such a drastic change had occurred behind the scenes. I had this issue of Mega Play magazine that I pored over for months leading up to the release of the game. I was both intrigued and a little nervous at what could possibly be the reason for the change in setting, and had created a whole narrative up in my head. Did the climactic battle and loss of Mother Brain at the end of Part 2 bring the Algol star system back into the Dark Ages? As we know now, Phantasy Star III infamously cranked the wheel, veering away from the sci-fi setting that gave this series its most defining part of its identity. In retrospect, its adoption of a primarily medieval world presents the most intriguing story elements because it's unclear at the outset that there is any connection to the previous games. On a surface level, one might think that S2 and his team decided to make a completely standalone story that shared certain elements and themes as connective tissue with previous games. Final Fantasy, which was nearing its 4th entry, had achieved a certain success with this approach. The story starts out small, during the wedding between Prince Rice of Landen and a mysterious blue-haired girl named Maya. The bride-to-be is kidnapped by a winged demon. Before he has any chance to go after her, Rice's father, the king, throws him into the dungeon to get his act together before making any rash decisions. After escaping with the help of a girl named Lena, Rice sets out to rescue her. The journey to rescue Maya runs about 4 to 5 hours, culminating in what is considered to be the defining aspect of Phantasy Star III, and also its namesake. The Generations of Doom subtitle refers to the fact that the overarching story here takes place at points during 3 generations of a family. At the completion of Rice's storyline, he chooses to marry one of 2 characters, splitting the timeline of the events, and each of those branching paths branched yet again, resulting in a total of 4 possible endings. Each of these branches have different storylines that play out, with certain aspects that remains the same across all of them. As the story progresses, the layers of the world are slowly peeled away, making you think that the world that these characters live in isn't quite what it seems. Obviously, this isn't the Algol star system from the previous 2 games, but maybe it just does have something to do with it, tangentially at least. Within the 3rd generation of characters, many lingering questions are answered, and I, for one, found the big connective twist to be fairly cool, and I still do today. Looking at it now, the generation approach probably seems like a silly gimmick, but context here is important. This was a couple of years before Dragon Quest V, which really ran with this concept. I love the way that it gives a vastness to the overall storyline progression. This tale takes place over the course of years, as a number of pieces have to fall into place to allow the return of a certain evil that we've come to know. Since 1990, Phantasy Star III has earned the title of Black Sheep of the series, a moniker that most people associate with being quote-unquote bad. Sure, it is admittedly a bit scattershot. The muted color palette runs in direct opposition to the lush greeneries of the first 2 games. There are plenty of cut corners on display too. I will never not laugh at the enemy whose entire attack animation is just them wagging their pointer finger really fast. And that's not to say anything about how a character getting older and becoming a father is solely represented by them just having a mustache now. It's well worth playing through each path to see how they differ from one another, and it's interesting to see how the branching timelines allow for tons of variables in your party makeup. Characters who might be your enemy in one timeline might be a party member in another. One big bad might even end up being your grandfather in another lifetime. It's too bad that the cartridge version inexplicably only has 2 save slots, so you'll be playing through that first generation a few times if you want to see it all. While the soundtrack lacks the tireless drive that was present in the previous games, the main theme here works incredibly well, echoing through a number of tracks. The overworld theme, which layers on instrumentations as members join your party, is especially impressive. The fact is, Phantasy Star III was released at a time when sequels to popular series were constantly changing up things to do something different. I mean, Zelda 1 to 2, anyone? How about Ys 1 and 2 compared to Ys 3? Castlevania 1 to Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest? You see where I'm going here. But here in 2025, I'd like you all to know that Phantasy Star III is different, but it is in no way bad. It's good, even. In fact, I'd rank it higher than Part 2. Yeah, I can hear your gasps now. But after my disappointing experience with the second game, I was able to go into Phantasy Star III without the baggage of expectations or the temptation of spoiling the whole game via an elaborately designed hint book. As a result, I have a specific fondness for Phantasy Star III that probably eludes most others who played it at the time. And I absolutely love it. Happy gaming.
All right, Josue, let's go through our new Comic Day stack. We have a lot to review.
I know. Maybe we've gone too far.
Well, let's see. Marvel, of course. DC.
I got Image, Dark Horse,
Black Mask, Boom, IDW.
Aftershock, Vault, of course, Mad Cave,
Oni, Valiant, Scout.
Magma, Behemoth.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, all we need now is a name for our show. We need a name for a show about reviewing comic books every week. Something clever, but not too clever.
Like a pun? It's kind of cheesy.
Yeah, something that seems funny at first, but we might regret later on as an impulsive decision a few dozen episodes in.
Yeah, we'll think of something.
Join Keith and Josue for We Have Issues, a weekly show reviewing almost every new comic released each week, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.